Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lynn. Namaskar. Coming up in NewsHour. Israeli negotiators, they head to Doha for Gaza ceasefire talks. Israel cuts Gaza's electricity ahead of these negotiations. Netanyahu faces protests in Tel Aviv. Zelensky is in Saudi Arabia to meet the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman ahead of crucial Ukraine-US talks on the Russia conflict. PM Modi to visit Mauritius from Tuesday to strengthen partnership and enhance Indian Ocean security, to be the chief guest on the 57th National Day of Mauritius. The second leg of the budget session of India's Parliament begins. The Railway Amendment Bill 2024 is passed in the upper house. The Israel-Hamas ceasefire is complex and uncertain. Talks in Doha have stalled. The first phase from January 19 to March 1 ended. Israel wants an extension through Ramadan, that's March 31, and Passover, which is April 12, while Hamas is pushing for phase 2, focusing on a permanent ceasefire and hostage release. Well, negotiations involved Egypt, Qatar, and the United States. Here's the ground situation.
The first phase of the three-phase Gaza ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas took effect on January 19. However, the 42-day ceasefire ended on the 1st of March without the second phase coming into effect. Since then, negotiations for the second phase of the deal remained stalled, much to the dismay of families of hostages still in Hamas's custody since October 7, 2023. They want the second phase to begin with the release of more hostages.
Instead of honoring the signed agreement and bringing all the remaining hostages out at once, Netanyahu blows up the deal and is now dragging us back into war.
Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is also facing corruption charges he denies. The trial began in 2020, and some say Netanyahu continues in office by extending the war.
His corruption is connected with a straight line with the abandonment of our hostages, our families. And he thinks that this is not important. He wants war, he wants war, he wants war.
Israel has taken a firm stance in the latest ceasefire talks with Hamas. They cut off electricity to Gaza and carried out airstrikes, straining the fragile truce. On March 2nd, Israel blocked aid trucks from entering Gaza, escalating tensions. Hamas has sought help from Egyptian and Qatari mediators, while Iran-backed Houthis threatened to resume naval operations if aid remains blocked. Despite these actions, Israel sent a delegation to Doha for negotiations. Meanwhile, Palestinians in Khan Yunis have voiced hope for successful negotiations between Hamas and Israel and call for an end to the war in the Gaza Strip.
We want to live. We want to live. We are a people looking to live, looking for life. Their people suffer just like us. Both nations are in pain. Enough is enough. There is no benefit in more suffering. Negotiations must succeed despite all obstacles. What is left? Gaza has nothing left.
Rehan Sharab, a 38-year-old from Khan Yunis in Gaza, crafts Ramadan lanterns from the aid cartons to bring joy to her children, despite their home being destroyed and war conditions. With no lanterns in local markets and no electricity, she hopes these handmade lanterns will brighten their lives as she shines a light on the negotiations in Gaza. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, after days of violence and mass killings, Syria declared an end to a major security operation targeting loyalists of the former President Bashar al-Assad. Despite this, over 1,000 have died in these clashes, which involved sectarian violence. The interim president vowed to hold those responsible accountable, while global powers, including Russia and Iran, condemned the bloodshed, urging for peace and stability in Syria. DD India's Mihir Maikuri reports.
After days of violence and mass killings that sparked international concern, Syria announced on Monday the end of a major security operation against loyalists of ousted President Bashar al-Assad in the coastal provinces. In a statement from the country's defense ministry, it was confirmed that plans are in place to continue combating the remnants of the former government and eliminate any future threats. This announcement follows Syria's worst bloodshed since Assad's ouster, with over 1,000 people reportedly killed in violence that has swept the coastal region since Thursday. The violence has pitted the Islamist-led government's security forces against fighters from Assad's Alawite minority. Among the dead are hundreds of Alawite civilians who, according to the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, were killed in retaliatory actions following attacks on security forces. In response to the bloodshed, Syria's leader vowed on Sunday to hunt down the perpetrators of the violent clashes, stating he would hold accountable anyone who overstepped their authority.
We will not tolerate the remnants of the fallen regime who committed crimes against our army forces and state institutions. They have only one choice, which is to surrender themselves to the law immediately. We confirm that we will hold accountable with all firmness and without leniency anyone who was involved in the bloodshed of civilians or harmed our people, or who exceeded the powers of the state or exploited power to achieve his own goals.
Meanwhile, countries around the world, including Russia, Germany and Iran, have condemned the violence and called for an immediate end to the hostilities.
We are extremely concerned about the news and the reports related to insecurity, violence and hostage-taking in different regions, and we firmly condemn such actions, and any violent act of killing and action against civilians is condemned and has no justification.
All eyes are now on Syria as the new rulers take steps to restore normalcy and trust among Syrians. Mihir Makri's report for DD India.
The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky arrived in Saudi Arabia on Monday for a key meeting with the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. His visit comes ahead of the high-stakes talks between Ukrainian and US officials on Tuesday, aimed at addressing the ongoing conflict with Russia. Here's the latest.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is in Saudi Arabia and he's set to meet Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman on Monday. His visit is being seen as an effort to strengthen diplomatic ties and seek broader international support for Ukraine's war efforts. Meanwhile, on Tuesday, a separate Ukrainian delegation will hold talks with US officials in Saudi Arabia. This will mark the first formal negotiations since Zelensky's tense meeting with US President Donald Trump. Talks are expected to focus on a potential minerals deal and pathways to ending the conflict with Russia. Ahead of his visit, Zelensky reaffirmed Ukraine's commitment to peace, saying Moscow remains the only reason the conflict still continues. The United States is also pushing for substantial progress in Ukraine talks to be held on Tuesday, with hopes of finalizing the critical minerals deal. In an interview to a domestic media outlet on Monday, Donald Trump's Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff emphasized Washington's commitment to advancing negotiations and securing an agreement on vital resources. Kiev will reportedly propose an aerial and naval ceasefire with Russia during talks with US officials. Zelensky has said Ukraine is fully committed to constructive dialogue but wants its interests to be taken into account in the right way. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio will fly to Saudi Arabia on Monday. Donald Trump's national security advisor Mike Waltz has also confirmed his participation for the key talks. The Ukrainian delegation will include Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiga, Defense Minister Rustam Umerov, Zelensky's Chief of Staff Andriy Yermak, and Pavlo Pelisa, a military commander and Yermak's deputy. Russia has responded cautiously to the development. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said that while the world is watching the US-Ukraine talks, the key question remains whether Kiev is genuinely ready for peace.
It is not important what we expect. It is important what United States expects. The world is watching to see whether the Kyiv regime is truly willing to make peace or not.
As Ukraine continues to push for security guarantees and long-term support, all eyes are now on Saudi Arabia, where diplomatic efforts could decide the future of Ukraine-Russia conflict. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, with a clear deadline to finalize the pact, India and the European Union will start the 10th round of negotiations for a bilateral free trade agreement in Brussels this week. Here's our report.
India and the European Union are making a concerted push to finalize a long-awaited free trade agreement by the end of this year. This comes after years of stalled negotiations and renewed efforts to bridge key differences. The journey towards an India-EU FTA began in 2007, but talks collapsed in 2013 due to various disagreements. After nearly a decade of dormancy, negotiations were revived in 2022, signaling a renewed commitment from both sides to forge a comprehensive trade partnership. Talks in the past few years have been focusing on resolving major sticking points. India is seeking increased market access and lower tariffs for its key exports, including pharmaceuticals, textiles, and apparel. It has expressed concerns about the impact of subsidized EU agricultural products on Indian farmers and the EU's overreach in areas such as environmental practices and labor rights. The EU, on the other hand, is pushing for greater access to the Indian market for European automobiles and spirits. Tariff reductions, particularly on EU exports like wine and whiskey, remain a core issue. Despite these challenges, the strategic importance of the FTA is undeniable. The EU is India's largest trading partner, with trade in goods reaching €124 billion in 2023. Trade in services has also surged, nearly doubling since 2020 to reach €60 billion in 2023, with digital services comprising a significant portion. With the US and China representing significant portions of India's trade, the EU aims to strengthen its position as a key economic partner. The growth in trade over the past decade, approximately 90%, highlights the potential for even greater economic collaboration. For the EU, concluding this FTA by year's end is crucial to secure a stronger foothold in a rapidly growing Indian market. This agreement would not only boost trade and investment, but also reinforce a strategic partnership essential for navigating a complex global landscape. Jessica Taneja for DD India.
Well, as the deadline to impose tariffs by the US on all steel and aluminium imports draws near, the EU trade chief said that the Trump administration does not seem to be engaging in talks to avert a trade conflict with the European Union. The European Trade Commissioner, Maroš Šefčovič, said that the European Union was ready to have constructive engagement as no one wins from tariffs, and that partners with $1.7 trillion of mutual trade should be extremely careful.
The US administration does not seem to be engaging to make a deal. And it brings me to my final point. As the US is watching over their interests, so is the European Union. Therefore, we will always protect European businesses, workers and consumers from unjustified tariffs, because we know that they expect no less from us.
Still to come here on DD India NewsHour. The Armenian Foreign Minister highlights strategic importance of trilateral cooperation between Armenia, India and Iran. North Korea fires multiple ballistic missiles hours after condemning South Korea and the US military drills. And AI to help neurologists better read the human brain from MRI scans. Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. when supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India. You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Mark Lynn. A momentous occasion awaits as Prime Minister Narendra Modi prepares for his two-day state visit to Mauritius beginning tomorrow, March 11th. His visit as the chief guest for Mauritius' National Day celebration, it marks another milestone in the deep and historic ties between the two nations. Our correspondent brings us the latest on the preparations and expectations. Excitement building up in Mauritius ahead of the arrival of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who will arrive in the island nation on a two-day state visit on Tuesday. The visit marks the second occasion when PM Modi will attend the National Day of Mauritius as the chief guest, the first being in 2015. The excitement is palpable, with final preparations underway for the high-profile event. The Indian diaspora, that forms about 70% of the population of the country, is elated at the visit of the Prime Minister of India.
We are going to perform a welcome song on his honor and a folk dance.
Mauritius is considered to be a small India. So here, just like India, we celebrate Holi, Diwali, Mahashivratri. Right. So we are very happy to welcome Modi ji here.
Tied by a living bridge of the Indian diaspora, both India and Mauritius share a very close relationship, which is built on mutual trust and cooperation. India is amongst the largest trading partners of Mauritius. Mauritius is the second largest source of FDI into India during FY 23-24, with US dollars 44.4 billion inflows. In 2021, India and Mauritius signed a comprehensive economic cooperation and partnership agreement. 11 Indian PSUs are operational in Mauritius. Mauritius is one of the largest beneficiaries of Indian technical and economic cooperation program. India has traditionally been the first responder for Mauritius in times of crisis, including during the recent COVID-19, Wakashio oil spill crises, and Cyclone Chido. Meanwhile, Mauritius has been a key partner in India's diplomatic outreach. In 2024 alone, Mauritius played a crucial role in multiple high-level engagements, including the Raisina Dialogue, the India-Africa Conclave, and the G20 Summit, where it co-launched the Global Biofuels Alliance alongside India.
This visit is very high on symbolism. It is also very high in terms of our substantive outcomes and content. Because this is a truly special relationship. This relationship has evolved into a modern partnership which is very multifaceted. So Mauritius is our partner in terms of our interests in the Indian Ocean region. It is a maritime security partner. We have a development partnership relationship with Mauritius.
Both the nations share close cooperation in various fields, including maritime security, development partnership, capacity building, cooperation in international fora, vibrant cultural exchanges, people-to-people ties. Cultural and educational exchanges also form a key aspect of the relationship, with nearly 70% of Mauritians tracing their roots to India. Institutions like the Mahatma Gandhi Institute play a crucial role in strengthening historical and cultural connections.
As Mauritius readies itself to welcome Prime Minister Narendra Modi on his second state visit to the country, there are high hopes and expectations that both the countries are going to take their relationships, be it economical, cultural, traditional or trade relations, to a new, unprecedented level. With camera person Mahesh Sharma from Port Louis in Mauritius, Akshay Dongre, DD India.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be heading to Mauritius on a two-day state visit at the invitation of the Prime Minister of Mauritius, Dr. Naveen Chandra Ramagulam. In his departure statement, the Prime Minister has said, and I quote, "I am embarking on a two-day state visit to Mauritius to participate in the celebrations of the 57th National Day of Mauritius. Mauritius is a close maritime neighbor, a key partner in the Indian Ocean and a gateway to the African continent. We are connected by history, geography and culture, deep mutual trust, a shared belief in the values of democracy and celebration of our diversity are our strengths. The close and historical people-to-people connect is a source of shared pride. We have made significant strides in the past 10 years with people-centric initiatives. I look forward to the opportunity to engage the Mauritius leadership to elevate our partnership in all its facets and to strengthen our enduring friendship for the progress and prosperity of our peoples, as well as for security and development in the Indian Ocean region as part of our Vision Sagar. I am confident that this visit will build on the foundations of the past and open a new and bright chapter in the India-Mauritius relationship. Ganga Talao, also known as Grand Basin, is revered as Mauritius's most significant Hindu pilgrimage site, symbolizing the Ganga River of India. So the holy waters of Ganga Talao were infused with water from the Ganges, the Ganga River, in 1972. And the lake is surrounded by temples dedicated to Lord Shiva, Lord Ganesh, and Lord Hanuman. The Shiva temple at Ganga Talao is believed to be the 13th Jyotirling, also known as the Mauritius Ishwarnath Jyotirling, according to a local legend. It was established in 1897 by Pandit Jumon Giri. And during the visit of India's President Draupadi Murmu to Mauritius in 2024, it was announced that the government of India will support the redevelopment of Ganga Talao complex into a religious, cultural and tourist hub. Akshay Dongre spoke with the trustee and the caretaker of the sacred lake in Mauritius on the significance of the Ganga Talao.
We are currently at Ganga Talao in Mauritius, one of the most revered spiritual and religious sites. And to talk about how this place is significant, we also have Mr. Satish Dayal with us. Sir, thank you so much for speaking with us. There is a lot of interest as far as the Ganga Talao is concerned. Many people also consider the temple here as the 13th Jyotirlinga as well in India too. As the Prime Minister is arriving here in Mauritius, there is a lot of interest as far as India is concerned and in the world as well that these kind of places exist in Mauritius. So can you tell us about the significance of this Ganga Talao?
The Ganga Talao is a very important place, spiritually revered place, as you mentioned it. It is a Tirthistan, a place of pilgrimage too. Right. And recently it has been declared as a heritage, spiritual heritage too. For the Hindu, it is a great symbol. Right. It is a great symbol because Ganga Talao is a sacred lake. In spite of being a sacred lake, it's a volcanic lake too. And it is a natural lake. Right. For Hindu, it is a great symbolism, this lake itself. The two things at Ganga Talao is very important. One is the lake itself. Secondly, the world 13th Jyotirlinga is here. The 12 Jyotirlinga in India, it is the only one which is outside India. And it is considered as the main temple of the country. And very often we used to experience miraculous happenings. And the temple is very, very famous all throughout the world.
You heard all the significance of this Ganga Talao and like Mr. Dayal has explained to us in so many words that how special and pious this lake is and how Mauritius is perhaps the only country outside India that has a Jyotirlinga as well. With camera person Ajit Kumar, I'm Akshay Dongre, DD India.
Well, the Indian naval ship Imphal has made her maiden port call at Port Louis, the capital city of Mauritius, on Monday. Now, the ship will participate in the 57th Mauritius National Day celebrations on March 12th. The visit of INS Imphal is in keeping with the tradition of Indian warships and aircraft participating in the Mauritius National Day celebrations. The ship will field a marching contingent, naval band and helicopter for the flypast at the National Day Parade at Champ de Mars in Mauritius. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar met the Armenian Foreign Minister Ararat Mirzoyan and held delegation-level talks with him in New Delhi. Now, Dr. Jaishankar, in his opening remarks, underlined the long-standing relationship between these two countries and endeavored to strengthen it further.
Today, of course, we have good political cooperation. I think our trade figures are increasing. We have defense collaboration. Culture has always been a strong point. There are a lot of Indian students in Armenia. We thank you for looking after them. And I think we have a very good exchange of people. So our agenda really is on how to take each one of these dimensions forward. I look forward to discussing how best we can do that. We also, at the international multilateral level, work very closely together. Your membership of the International Solar Alliance, your participation in the Voice of the Global South, we are really very pleased you've joined the also, I think, the International Big Cats Alliance, if I'm not mistaken.
The Armenian Foreign Minister Ararat Mirzoyan has said that he wants closer and stronger ties with India in the changing world as both countries have entered into the 30th year of their diplomatic relations, highlighting the strategic importance of trilateral cooperation between Armenia, India and Iran, particularly concerning the development of the Chabahar port. He emphasized that enhancing connectivity through Chabahar port would not only bolster regional trade, but also strengthen economic ties among the three nations. He also stressed on India's strong engagement with the Eurasian Economic Region.
We aim to substantially increase bilateral trade volumes in the coming years, focusing our efforts on facilitating Armenian companies to establish business connections with India. Armenia is deeply interested in advancing dialogue and cooperation with the International North-South Transport Corridor project and the Chabahar Port Development Initiative. In this regard, the Armenia-India-Iran trilateral cooperation format is of great significance. Armenia and India can establish mutually beneficial cooperation across every sphere: high-tech, IT, education, science, tourism, aviation, logistics, and pharmaceuticals stand out as particularly promising areas for our partnership.
Well, let's take a look at other stories making the news around the world. North Korea fired multiple ballistic missiles on Monday, hours after condemning the South Korean and US militaries for launching drills. In a statement, the US military condemned the missile launches and called on North Korea to refrain from further unlawful and destabilizing acts. Supporters of the Romanian presidential candidate Călin Georgescu clashed with law enforcement during a protest in Bucharest in Romania. And on Sunday, Electoral Commission banned the candidacy of the far-right politician Georgescu for the upcoming presidential elections. Georgescu denounced the move in a post on the social media and said that it was a direct blow to the heart of democracy worldwide. Myanmar's Catholics have been praying for Pope Francis's health and wished him a speedy recovery from this long lung infection that he's had. They were doing this prayer at St. Mary's Cathedral in Yangon. The 88-year-old Pope has not been seen in person since he was admitted on February 14 to Rome's Gemelli Hospital. Scientists in London have developed an AI tool. It's called MELD Graph. It's capable of detecting invisible brain abnormalities that often cause epilepsy. This technology identifies approximately 2/3 of the tiny abnormalities that human radiologists tend to miss when analyzing MRI scans. Still to come here on DD India NewsHour, the 56th Raising Day of India's premier Central Industrial Security Force. 6-day snow ski coaching camp for beginners in Kargil. You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Mark Lynn. Here's a recap of our main stories. Israeli negotiators head to Doha for Gaza ceasefire talks. Israel cuts Gaza electricity ahead of negotiations. Netanyahu faces protests in Tel Aviv. PM Modi to visit Mauritius from Tuesday to strengthen a partnership as well as to enhance Indian Ocean security. He's to be the chief guest at the 57th National Day of Mauritius. The second leg of the budget session of India's Parliament begins. The Railway Amendment Bill 2024 has been passed in the upper house. And going back to our top story, which is about the situation between Israel and Hamas and whether the ceasefire can be extended or a second phase of the ceasefire can be negotiated. We have with us Lieutenant General Atta Hasnain, a retired former General Officer Commanding of the 15th Corps. Thank you very much, General Hasnain, for being with us. Now, if we look at, progress or what's hindering progress, what do you think are the factors that are hindering progress towards reaching moving towards, let's say, the second phase of the ceasefire?
See, Mark, ceasefires as it is are always troublesome events. Implementing them is always a major problem. Here, the problem between Israel and Hamas becomes even more than any other ceasefire. For one reason, the trust factor is almost zero here. And the second thing is that while Israel is a formed nation, with a structured nation, they are dealing on the other side with Hamas, which is an internationally recognized terrorist organization. And therefore, adhering to the principles of what you have agreed to, accepted and signed on the dotted line becomes a major challenge. As far as Hamas is concerned, it's looking for a permanent ceasefire, which it is not getting because this is all coming in bits and pieces. It's looking for a complete withdrawal of the Israeli Defense Forces, which Israel will not withdraw until it is fully satisfied that it has got all the hostages who are alive have returned. In addition to that, the reconstruction effort has to be shown to be serious, and a return of the people probably has to be made a little more energetic, because Hamas finds that enough people have not come back yet, and there has to be a serious prisoner exchange. Now, these are some of the demands from Hamas. Obviously, Israel does not agree with that. Israel says that it has shown all the patience necessary to implement such a ceasefire, and that Hamas is not living up to its side of the promise it made in the ceasefire agreement.
Indeed. General Hasnain, how effective have international mediators been in facilitating the current ceasefire negotiations?
Well, for one, the beginning of it itself, to bring about a ceasefire itself was a major challenge after an event such as October the 7th and the series of events which have taken place progressively thereafter, including the large-scale bombing of Gaza by the Israeli Air Force, leading to the death of almost 50,000 people. Despite that, the negotiators have managed to bring about a ceasefire agreement to their very great credit. The fact remains that Egypt, Qatar and the United States, the three major countries which have joined hands in bringing this together, obviously have to oversee this far more seriously. And you find infringements taking place from time to time. There's a lot of back and forth which has to take place between Qatar and Cairo. That is the two main centers of negotiations where things are taking place. Whenever there is some kind of a lapse anywhere, the state of Israel decides not to send a delegation, and after a little bit of a delay, they decide to send a delegation. So these are challenges which take place mostly in any ceasefire agreement. But obviously they are more serious here because many more lives are involved.
Right.
So much more destruction has happened here, and the world has been all expecting that some kind of a reprieve after the year and a half, some kind of a reprieve will come about now.
General Hasnain, is extending the first phase, through Ramadan and the Passover the most feasible option, given that it gives each side time, and also since religion matters quite a lot to both sides?
Yes, this usually happens internationally everywhere. I have seen this happening in Kashmir, even between our forces and terrorists on the other hand. It's happened there. We've had ceasefires on the line of control many times, and we have made sure that they transcend the period of Ramzan particularly, because in Kashmir, Ramzan is taken very, very seriously. So a similar parallel you can draw here too. Very important festivals, the festival of Ramadan, Passover, both of them, and this must, the ceasefire must sort of transcend over them, allow the people it's some kind of a reprieve, a break from the terrible situation that they have been in all this time, bringing in some kind of a humanitarian aid, which can be also facilitated.
General Hasnain, we are also seeing pressure being put on Netanyahu from families of the hostages. Maybe there's pressure also on the other side. But do you see them pressing for the second phase? And, what impact will this pressure have in that sense? Because Netanyahu is also caught up in corruption, a corruption trial, and some of them feel that he's just wanting to stay in power just to avoid the corruption charges.
Your second part of the question first. Netanyahu, no doubt, has been the greatest beneficiary of this entire war. Otherwise, he may have possibly been on trial at this particular time and definitely not in power. But yes, you're right. That is what the international media talks about. Most strategic analysts believe in that there is every effort going on to try and perpetuate this war as far forward as possible. But obviously, a time limit will be there. You can't just carry on destroying a nation. There will be no end to the kind of destruction which has gone on all this time. The other aspect is basically the trust factor, which is the most important thing here. At no stage is Hamas going to reveal exactly the list of hostages who are alive and with them, or the list of people who are dead. This is something which Israel has been demanding for fairly long, because once the list is out, once Hamas has handed over almost every single hostage, the situation between the two sides may just deteriorate all over again. Right. This is something which Hamas wants to probably keep as a last-minute kind of a arguing point in their, or something in their favor, a negotiating point in their favor at the talks which will continue subsequently.
Finally, General Hasnain, what long-term measures are necessary to ensure, the reconstruction of Gaza and prevent future conflicts? Do you see this, the Egyptian plan as well as the US plans as serious models? Are they just showing people that, this can be your future if you move towards peace?
Well, for one, Mark, is going to be a tremendous amount of investment which will be required to rebuild Gaza. They've already spoken of a couple of $1 billion. I think $43 billion was what Egypt was talking about. Where will that money come from? Will this be an international consortium to put that kind of money together? Will Israel have a role in that itself? All these are questions at the moment. The most important thing which will be necessary is peace, because after the death of 50,000 Palestinians, I do foresee the sentiments of retribution and revenge will be very much live. And that is something that Israel will have to contend with. This back and forth kind of a thing between Hamas and Israel is therefore likely to continue. I don't think there is a thing called conflict termination that we are looking at squarely in our face as far as the Gaza Strip is concerned. And although everyone will want to put in efforts towards reconstruction, I think we've got a long wait before that actually fructifies in any way.
We'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Lieutenant General Syed Atta Hasnain, former General Officer Commanding of the 15th Corps. Thank you for putting that into perspective for us. Moving on to our next story, the second leg of the budget session of India's Parliament convened from Monday. And the upper house, that's the Rajya Sabha, it passed the Railway Amendment Bill 2024. It aims to improve the Railway Board's functioning and independence. This session is set to run from March 10 to April 4, with important bills and key issues dominating the agenda.
The second leg of the budget session of the Indian Parliament resumed on Monday. Both houses began their sittings at 11 a.m., starting with the question hour. However, due to the disruptions in both the lower and upper houses by the opposition members who demanded discussion on various issues, both the houses were adjourned until 2 p.m. Following protests and sloganeering, Union Minister and BJP leader in the upper house, JP Nadda, criticized the opposition for violating the protocols and rules of the house. The Lok Sabha resumed again and took up discussions on the pending bills.
The bills of lading Bill 2024 to make provision for the transfer of right of the suit and all liabilities to the consignee, name in a bill of lading and every endorsee of bill of lading to whom the property in the goods mentioned in the bill of lading shall pass.
The government also sought Parliament's approval for an additional expenditure of 51,463 crore rupees in the current fiscal year, with a significant portion allocated for pensions and fertilizer subsidies.
Sir, with your permission, I rise to present a statement, Hindi and English versions, showing supplementary demand for grants, second batch for 24-25.
During the session, the leader of the opposition in the Lok Sabha and Congress MP Rahul Gandhi called for a discussion in the House regarding alleged discrepancies in the voter list, citing concerns raised in multiple states. The proceedings of both the houses of the parliament will resume on 11 a.m. on Tuesday. The ongoing budget session is scheduled to run from March 10 to April 4. The government is pushing for the passage of many important bills in this session. Bureau Report, TD India.
As India celebrates CISF Raising Day on Monday, Prime Minister Narendra Modi shared his message on the occasion in a post on the microblogging site X. The Prime Minister said, and I quote, "Raising Day wishes to all personnel of CISF. The force is admired for its professionalism, dedication and courage. They play a key role in our security system by protecting essential infrastructure and ensuring the safety of countless people every day. Their unwavering commitment to duty is truly commendable," unquote. Well, today marks the 56th Raising Day of India's premier Central Industrial Security Force. The day is observed as an acknowledgement and to honor the dedication and sacrifices of CISF personnel in safeguarding the nation's key assets.
The Central Industrial Security Force, CISF, is celebrating its 56th Raising Day today. The CISF was established in 1969 with just 3 battalions to provide consolidated security cover to some sensitive public sector undertakings. It was on 13th August 1968 that the CISF bill was passed by the Parliament, which got President's assent on 2nd December 1968. The Central Industrial Security Force Act 1968 came into force on 10th March 1969. Since 1969, the forces evolved into a major multi-skilled organization with a current strength of over 1,88,000 personnel. At present, the CISF provides security cover to 359 establishments across the country. CISF has 74 other formations, including 12 reserve battalions and 8 training institutes. CISF is the only force with a customized and dedicated fire wing, which serves 115 establishments. CISF is providing security to the strategic establishments, including the Department of Space, the Department of Atomic Energy, the airports, the Delhi Metro, ports, power plants, and other highly sensitive assets of the country. Additionally, the CISF safeguards important government buildings, prestigious heritage monuments, the Parliament House complex, and central jails in Jammu and Kashmir. CISF is providing protection to some private sector units and important government buildings in Delhi as well. CISF is also providing security to the protected persons classified as Z+, Z, X and Y. CISF is a compensatory cost force, which means that the entity CISF is protecting is required to pay for the security services provided. Still to come here on DD India NewsHour.
The Academy Museum of Motion Pictures in Los Angeles in California starts screening a series of Indian movies. Neither Rohit Sharma nor Virat Kohli plan to retire anytime soon.
Welcome to Jaipur.
You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Mark Lynn. Let's take a look at other stories making news now. Based on recommendations from the Directorate General of Trade Remedies, India's Ministry of Finance has informed that a decision has been taken to impose an anti-dumping duty on trichloroisoconazuric acid. This is a chemical used for water treatment. It's imported from China and Japan for 5 years. The Ladakh Sky and, the Ladakh Ski and Snowboard Association, it has launched a 6-day basic snow ski coaching camp for beginners in Barkbugo, which is in Goma in Kargil. Now, this event aims to educate and engage the younger generation in physical activities for overall well-being and for an appreciation of adventure sports. In Madhya Pradesh, the Madhav National Park, located in Shivpuri district, it has been declared as a new tiger reserve of the state. This action solidified Madhya Pradesh's standing as India's tiger state and bolsters efforts to safeguard the country's tiger population. The Academy Museum of Motion Pictures in Los Angeles in California has started the screening of a series of 12 Indian films. The series showcases films made in different Indian languages that demonstrates the importance of color in Indian cinema, capturing the country's diverse culture. Diptanshu Kashyap brings us this report.
Located in Los Angeles, California, the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures is renowned for its dedication to film history. This time, the museum is highlighting the vibrant and diverse world of Indian cinema with a special screening series featuring 12 color films. The series kicked off with the 1957 Hindi language drama Mother India, the first Indian film to be nominated for an Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film, which is now known as the International Feature Film category. Other Hindi films featured in this series include Amar Akbar Antony, Manthan, Maya Darpan, Jodha Akbar, Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge, Devdas and Mirch Masala. The series also includes films from other Indian languages such as Iruvar, Kanchenjunga, Kumati and Ishanu. The series is guest curated by filmmaker and Film Heritage Foundation founding director Shivendra Singh Dungarpur. On the screenings, he shared his thoughts. Most Western audiences are unaware of the vast scope, richness and diversity of Indian cinema with 6 major film industries, Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam and Bengali, producing over 2,000 films each year. In addition, countless films in other languages and dialects are made across India. This selection of films showcases the many hues and emotions of Indian cinema spanning from different eras, regions, languages and genres. From grand historical epics to feminist rebellions set in colonial times, from the optimism of a newly independent nation to gripping political dramas, And from heartwarming romances to the introspective exploration of society in experimental and parallel cinema. The screenings are taking place at the Ted Mann Theatre and will conclude on April 19th. Diptanshu Kashyap's report for DD India.
You're watching DD India NewsHour. Time now for the sports news. And the Indian skipper Rohit Sharma broke his silence on his retirement after leading India to historic Champions Trophy win. There was a lot of buzz around the Indian captain retiring from this format, but Rohit has finally put all these speculations, to rest, saying that his career is far from over and he will not be retiring. Now, India's maverick batter, who's quite a legend in himself, Virat Kohli, also confirmed that he is not going anywhere and that he will be continuing playing for the country. Additionally, all-rounder Ravindra Jadeja also took to social media to rubbish any retirement rumours, writing "no unnecessary rumours, thanks" on his Instagram story. The ICC Champions Trophy returned after 8 years to India. India making history by winning the tournament for a record third time on Sunday. As we close the chapter on this event, let's take a look at the highlights in our next report.
India defeated New Zealand by 4 wickets in the final of the ICC Champions Trophy in Dubai to secure the ICC event title for a record third time. Looking back at the tournament, here are some of the highlights. Virat Kohli silenced the critics over his form in Test cricket with an unbeaten 100 against arch rivals Pakistan during group stage encounter. His mastery of the conditions, combined with his ability to rotate the strike, took India to victory with 6 wickets and 45 balls to spare. Kohli was also India's saviour in the semi-finals against Australia when his 84 steered another successful chase. Pakistan hosted a major cricket event for the first time in 3 decades, and excitement there was sky high, despite India's decision to play all their matches in Dubai due to security concerns. However, Pakistan's poor show on the field deflated the spirits of the cricket-crazy nation, with successive losses to New Zealand, India, and ultimately its elimination from the finals. New Zealand's rising star Rachin Ravindra claimed the golden bat for most runs and player of the tournament for his scintillating performances. Scoring 2 centuries for the Black Caps, Rachin made his case as a future leader amongst the batters. In 4 matches, he made 263 runs at an average of 65.75. Rachin broke Kane Williamson's record of scoring the most runs for New Zealand in single edition of the Champions Trophy. KL Rahul hailed as India's Champions Trophy's unsung hero, having twice kept a cool head under pressure to see his team to victory in the 10th semi-final and finals. After the departure of Rohit and Kohli, it was Rahul who had kept calm to guide India across the finish line on the finals. Rohit was full of praise for Rahul's composure at the sharp end of the nerve-shredding chase. Veteran batsman Steve Smith called time on his ODI career a day after Australia lost in the semi-finals to India. Smith top scored for Australia with 73, but his knock was in vain after India overhauled Australia in the semi-finals. On the other hand, Jos Buttler also stepped down as England's white ball captain following his side's Champions Trophy exit. His position came under scrutiny after a sustained poor run of ODI form for England, stretching back to the start of the 2023 World Cup. Faiz Khan's report for DD India.
Well, that's all we have in this bulletin, and we leave you with this story from our Sri Lankan correspondent, the Sri Lankan capital in Colombo, where the birth anniversary of the tabla maestro Zakir Hussain was celebrated. The Swami Vivekananda Cultural Centre, under the Indian High Commission there, marked the 74th birth anniversary of the legendary tabla virtuoso with a special event titled Rhythms and Reverence, Remembering the Legend. Now, the evening served as a heartfelt tribute to his unmatched contribution to Indian classical music. And that's all we have in this edition of DD India NewsHour. And for those of you on the go, you can get the latest news and updates from across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app's available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code and download it now as well. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. My name is Mark Lin. It's been a pleasure bringing you DD India NewsHour. Namaskar.